Have you ever noticed that the pursuit of perfection is just an elegant refuge to avoid the glorious chaos of being alive? That behind the impeccable mask you wear every day exists an ancestral fear of being discovered, of being seen in your raw and imperfect humanity? Carl Jung whispered a truth that most prefer to ignore. Perfection is not a goal. It's a prison you build yourself, brick by brick, while life passes by outside. We live in an era obsessed with edited versions of reality. Every photo goes through 3 filters before touching the world. Every word is calibrated, every gesture rehearsed. You wake up and you're already performing. At work, with friends, even alone in the mirror, always adjusting, correcting, polishing. Jung called this the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted. But here's the cruel paradox. The more perfect the mask, the more distant you become from who you really are. The persona starts as protection and ends as a cage. You build an image so impeccable that you spend your entire life imprisoned inside it, terrified by the possibility that someone will see the cracks, and then something disturbing happens. You forget that there's a real person underneath all this performance. The mask sticks to your skin, the character replaces the being, and you start to believe that you need to be perfect to deserve love, respect, or simply the right to exist. But let's be honest, what are you really protecting when you pursue perfection? Jung knew the answer. You're protecting the shadow, that part of you that you judge unacceptable, shameful, too small, or too big. Everything that doesn't fit the idealized image you created about yourself. The anger you can't feel, the desire you can't admit, the vulnerability you can't show, the ambition you need to hide. So you push all of this into the depths, lock it in a psychic basement, and throw away the key. And there, in the darkness, these rejected fragments of yourself gain power. They don't disappear just because you pretended they don't exist. They ferment, they transform, and one day they explode in forms you don't recognize. Unexplained anxiety, relationships that implode, sabotaging behaviors that destroy precisely what you want most. The pursuit of perfection is, in reality, a war against yourself. It's the desperate attempt to eliminate everything that is human, as if humanity were a defect to be corrected. You look at your flaws and see enemies. You look at your weaknesses and feel shame. You look at your mistakes and build walls. But here's the bitter irony. By rejecting your imperfections, you reject the only thing that makes you whole. Jung realized that individuation, the process of becoming who you really are, doesn't happen by eliminating what is imperfect, but by integrating. It's not about getting rid of the shadow, but embracing it, recognizing it, talking to it. Because within what you most reject in yourself lives a vital energy that you waste trying to hide. How many times have you stopped yourself from doing something because you couldn't do it perfectly? How many relationships have you sabotaged because you were afraid of being seen in your vulnerability? How many dreams have you shelved because you didn't feel ready enough, good enough, worthy enough? Perfection has become your favorite excuse. You say you're preparing, but actually you're postponing. You say you're perfecting yourself, but actually you're hiding. And meanwhile, life, this chaotic, imperfect, urgent thing, continues happening without you. It doesn't wait for you to be ready. It doesn't give you a certificate of perfection before starting. It invites you now, as you are, with all your cracks shining in the light. If you've already felt that you're living a life that isn't yours, that you're playing a role someone else wrote for you, take a deep breath, because we're about to dismantle the altar of perfection where you sacrificed your authenticity. Subscribe to this channel to continue this journey of liberation, because what comes next will confront everything they taught you about success, acceptance, and self-worth. Jung revolutionized psychology by saying something that sounded almost heretical. You don't need to be perfect to be complete. In fact, completeness only comes when you stop running from what you judge imperfect in yourself. He called this shadow integration. Imagine you live in a house and decide that certain rooms are unacceptable, so you lock them and pretend they don't exist. Over time, you're living in only half the house, while the other half rots in abandonment. That's exactly what we do with our psyche. We reject parts of ourselves and then feel incomplete, empty, fragmented. And we fill that void with performance, with the frantic pursuit of a perfection that never arrives because the pursuit itself is the problem. The truth is that you're spending monumental energy maintaining this facade. Think about the effort it takes to control every word, every reaction, every emotion. Think about the exhaustion of always being on, always monitoring, always adjusting. It's exhausting because you're fighting against the tide of your own nature, and this fight takes a toll. Blocked creativity, dead spontaneity, conditioned joy. You can't laugh too loud, you can't cry, you can't make mistakes. You can't simply be. Everything needs to pass through the filter of imaginary approval from a jury that only exists in your head. Jung understood that this internal tyranny is crueler than any external judgment. You became your own jailer, building impossible rules and then punishing yourself for not being able to follow them. But there's a profound twist in this journey. What you call a defect might be your greatest gift in disguise. That sensitivity you try to hide because it makes you seem weak, it might be exactly what allows you to connect deeply with others. That intensity you judge excessive, it might be the driving force of your creativity, that vulnerability that terrifies you. It might be the bridge to genuine relationships that transform lives. Jung discovered that the shadow doesn't just hold what is negative, it holds what is potent. Everything you repressed because it didn't fit your perfect self-image is still there, pulsing, waiting to be recognized and integrated. Think about the moments when you felt most alive. They probably weren't moments of perfect control, but those rare instances when you allowed yourself to be completely yourself, when you laughed without filter, when you cried without shame, when you acted on impulse from the heart, not by calculation of the mind. When you failed disastrously and discovered that the world didn't end. In those moments, you touched something real, something no performance can replicate. Because life doesn't happen in perfection. It happens in chaos, in improvisation, in risk, in error followed by learning. And when you try to eliminate all of this in the name of an idealized image, you're not eliminating problems. You're eliminating the possibility of being truly alive. But there's an even deeper secret that few have the courage to face. The pursuit of perfection isn't about excellence. It's about fear. Fear of being rejected. Fear of not being enough. Fear that if people see who you really are, they'll leave. So you build an edited version of yourself, one you believe is more palatable, more acceptable, more worthy of love. And you spend your entire life defending this falsification, while who you really are withers in abandonment. Jung called this ego inflation, when you identify so much with the persona that you lose contact with the self, with the authentic core of your being. And the price of this disconnection is brutal. You can have success in the eyes of the world and still feel a corrosive emptiness inside, because no external achievement fills the gap created by internal rejection. Here's the revelation that changes everything. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. In fact, it's the opposite. People don't connect with perfection. They connect with truth, with vulnerability, with the courage to show the scars and say, "This is also me." When you have the audacity to show up without armor, something magical happens. You give permission for others to do the same. You create a space of authenticity where real connections can flourish. Because deep down, we're all tired of the performance. We all want a place where we can take off the mask and finally breathe. Jung spent decades exploring the human unconscious and reached a revolutionary conclusion. The goal of life is not to eliminate darkness, but to learn to dance with it. It's not to become perfect, but to become whole. And wholeness includes contradiction. It includes paradox. It includes light and shadow, strength and fragility, wisdom and ignorance. You are all of this at the same time. And when you stop fighting this truth, when you stop trying to fit into an impossible mold, something extraordinary happens. You finally start to live, not an edited, rehearsed, calculated life, but a raw, real, pulsating life. A life where you have permission to make mistakes, to grow, to change, to be surprisingly human. Perfection is a seductive lie. It promises security, acceptance, love, but delivers only loneliness. Because when you hide who you really are, even the love you receive doesn't reach you. It hits the mask and stays there outside while you starve inside. Jung knew that the path to individuation, to becoming fully yourself, goes through the courage to give up perfection and embrace completeness. And completeness means integrating everything, the good and the bad, the light and the dark, the acceptable and the unacceptable. It means stopping dividing yourself into approved and rejected pieces and starting to recognize yourself as a complex, contradictory, and magnificently human whole. So here's the invitation. Stop. Stop polishing. Stop hiding. Stop postponing your life until you're perfect enough to live it. That day will never come. Perfection is a horizon that recedes as you advance. But life is here now, imperfect and urgent, waiting for you to show up. Not the edited version, not the character. You, with all your cracks, contradictions, fears, and unrealized potential, because it's precisely in the cracks that light enters. It's in mistakes that you learn. It's in vulnerability that you connect. It's in imperfection that you finally discover what it means to be alive. If this message touched something deep in you, if you recognize the golden prison of perfection in your own life, then this is just the beginning. Subscribe to this channel because we're going to continue exploring the hidden truths that liberate. Like this video if it resonated with you. And most importantly, share it with someone who needs to hear this. Someone who is trapped in the impossible pursuit of perfection, forgetting that real life happens in the glorious imperfection of existing. Stop being perfect. Start living.